Greater Good Radio. Connect, learn, heal, and grow. When we are young, like a baby, right? The number one thing is to stay alive. In order to stay alive, we need to be valued by our caregivers, whoever those caregivers may be.
Yeah.
Because if we're not valued by the
Yeah.
caregivers and we get discarded or we get kicked out of our family or tribe, our chance
Yeah.
of survival is very low, especially as a human, right? Everything now becomes right or wrong, good or bad.
Yeah.
And if I'm not right and good, and I'm on the other side, my chance of getting kicked out and dying is super
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
So the feeling in there is death, right?
Yeah.
And the feeling of not being good enough and so on, that's shame.
Yeah.
Like something's wrong with me, I'm defective, people are going to find out and so on. And typically that is a verb. Somebody is shaming.
Yeah.
It's either somebody externally making that judgment, or I took their energy internally and now that internal energy as a critic makes this judgment. And then that gets compiled throughout life, and that becomes dangerous.
Yeah.
Because anytime now we going into judgment, which is good, bad, right, wrong, that causes us to either run, flight, right, fight, or freeze.
Yeah.
And that you see very clearly in the workplace if you look at it under that kind of lens.
That's so helpful also to be thinking about this idea. I define it as the feeding and growing of people, but as a manager, you are defining right, wrong, and potentially shaming all day, every day, or reinforcing that feeling of shame.
Yeah.
Holy cow, that's huge, right?
Because that can make somebody do something by shaming them. It's
Completely.
done all the time.
All
it's like
the time.
super, like it's super effective.
And but it's also not always intentional. Like if that's the only model you know, that's the only model you know. So
that's you burn the shoes and throw them in the thing.
Right? So that's super helpful. Like how do we start helping managers be aware of that? It may not even be the way you intend the message to be received, but it likely is going to be received as a message of shame. So how can you caringly support, give that message in a way that helps the person grow, right?
Yeah.
Versus diminish.
Actually, all of
shame.
these things,
So good.
which is what I'll probably end up talking to you later. I've been constantly thinking about it, as you know, for like the last kind of super long.
Yeah.
And I think now what I've named it is really the connected leader.
Yeah.
It's really around the connected leader. And the connected leader is somebody that has a strong connection with themselves.
Yeah.
Which then means they can have strong connections with others.
Yeah.
And then help others have strong connections between each other.
So good.
Aaron Salah, who came on this show, is a friend of mine now, told me that in Samoan culture, they call it the va. And the va was like this is the space between, right? The energetic space between.
Yeah.
So we have you, we have me, and we have the va,
Wow.
right? And he talked about cultivating the va. It's always cultivating the space between. And when the space between the va is strong,
Wow.
then we're strong.
Love that.
Right? So when managers or leaders or whoever in the organization is looking at this, they're typically looking at you as the person.
Yep.
I'm looking at the va.
Yep.
And the va is actually felt.
Yes.
So I'm feeling the va. Are we in or are we not? And when we are, we can actually sit here and discuss things in our like self-led way
Yeah.
and lead toward, because it's not about, I heard this saying is really great. It's like, it's not about resolving or solving. It's about dissolving. When the va and the connection is strong enough, the issue dissolves. If you resonate with Greater Good Radio, please join our community at www.greatergoodradio.com, where you can get access to exclusive content and offerings. Hope to see you soon.